Alright guys, welcome back to the shop. I'm in here on a Sunday redoing some stuff on the 1968 Barracuda. I have been beating my head against the wall on a couple of things, and I finally decided, well, the biggest thing I was fighting was hood clearance. These late 60s A-body Mopars have about zero hood clearance, similar to Corvettes of the same era. So I ended up switching out the Killshot for the Killshot 2 because this Killshot 2 allows for a low clearance air cleaner, which gives me an extra inch of clearance under the hood. It does require changing the harness, and I'm just going to go ahead and install this system in here. I'll use the Killshot on something else that has more hood clearance. But I'm going to plug in the high def screen here in just a second. You can see this is my new air cleaner. These are pretty common. I forget what part number these are, 14 something. 4339. And these are super nice piece. 2-inch filter. Chrome top. But the important part is the drop base, and the drop base fits what we need it to fit. So we're all hooked back up. We can get our air cleaner on there. I've got my CVF Racing filter, breather, and PCV hooked up now. So let's do the programming and fire this thing up, see if we can make it run right. Keep going. I don't think that's leaking. I think that's just from there. We're holding pressure, so we should be good. What'd you do, Richard? There it went. So, moving forward on the Barracuda again, I'm going to do a cold startup with the new Killshot 2 and our proper air cleaner, which looks pretty good and clears our hood, which is one of the reasons I decided to upgrade this to the Killshot 2 to move forward. But everything else just seems to be working good. So let's fire it up, see how it pops off. And then I'm going to get this thing strapped down the dyno. We're going to make a couple pulls. Let this thing tune itself, as they say. So that's a cold start, but my engine coolant temperature sensor is reading 122 degrees. I think I'm going to need no coolant temp sensor for this thing. Hang on, I'm going to grab my thermal thermometer. Degrees. 122 degrees. That's a 40-degree difference. IFRs are reading good. really good charging system. Oh, I'm unplugged. Let me plug that in. I forgot I was looking at that earlier because I saw a 20-degree difference. I'm wondering what it is now that it's plugged in, because it needs to be plugged in to work. They won't ever learn if you don't plug the coolant temp sensor in. So it's still reading 118 degrees, which is awkward. So yeah, I think I have a bad coolant temp sensor, so maybe I'm not going to be running this today on the dyno. Well, the good news is it's reading hotter than it actually is. If it was reading colder, it could be adding extra fuel to it. So we'll warm it up and we'll see what it reads, see what the difference is. But I'm going to get an AC Delco, I forget the part number, it's long, 15 something. Anyway, it's a pretty common GM coolant temp sensor. We'll go from there. Let me get this thing up to temperature, and I'm going to get the straps put on this thing. So she sounded pretty good. I'm just doing some running, basically running it through different RPM ranges, different loads. Luckily the roller loads this pretty well. It's not a, it doesn't have the actual loading device on this dyno. It's just a weighted drum calculation. But it's enough to let me kind of get this system to start to understand what it needs to do. So I just ran it for a little while. Turn the key off, let it save its data, so then I'll start it back up and I'll do it again until my AFRs look like they're where I want them to be. There's a whole bunch of adjustments you can do inside this system, which is really nice. And I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still waiting on Aces to come out with the new tech manual that they said is coming out, which I'm actually very excited to read. Not that I'm a big reader, but I like knowing everything I can about the stuff I'm working on once I start working on it. So let me fire this thing back up. We'll run it again. We'll see if it's getting more crisp and less lean, because I'm getting some lean spots as I excel. And I will probably add some fuel into the acceleration table to help with that. But this new Killshot 2 is a synchronous throttle assembly, which is nice, and I think that's going to alleviate some of the lean bog that I was trying to fight with the Killshot. And I think that's just going to be a characteristic of the Killshot synchronous throttle body assembly. It's really only apparent when you are cruising and you stab the throttle, like for acceleration. If you gradually accelerate, it doesn't do that. So I may actually end up using that Killshot on my 1965 C10. I have a performer intake manifold on it now, and I'm thinking about putting it on my C10, and then I'm going to switch out the Edelbrock performer intake. I have a TrickFlow open plenum intake that I'd like to try and compare the two intakes to see which one performs better and see which one has better drivability, because I gotta believe the open intake will probably perform better, but I don't know. I won't know that until we cross that bridge. But luckily we got a chassis dyno and we can do those tests and have some real data to compare the differences. Right now I'm going to go back to firing this thing up and let it learn. Alright, so again, we're going to shut the engine off, let the data be stored into the machine, or into the computer. Basically 10 or 15 minute drives around, you know, calmly doing things. So it's kind of nice doing it on a dyno because I don't have to worry about traffic. And I can pay attention to what the AFRs are doing. This thing's got some D-cell pop. I turned on the fuel D-cell cutoff, which is a function in the handheld. I turn that on. We'll see if it makes a difference after it learns a few things. My idle is exceptional. It is actually idling better with the Killshot 2 than it ever did with the Killshot 1, so I don't know if I had a problem with my Killshot 1, but so far I'm liking the Killshot 2 better, especially since I can put an air cleaner on it now. We're going to shut that off and let it relearn. I think it might be time for a brake pad change on the dyno. Oopsies, that sounded awful. Well, I think I'm going to go ahead and just do a mild pull, moderately aggressive throttle, probably from about 2,500 RPM to about 5,500 RPM. And we'll see what it does. This is still really early in the learning stages of this system, so I don't know what it'll do, but I'm interested to find out. My AFRs are looking good. They're getting better and they're staying more consistent. I did increase my acceleration to TPS value. It was at like 78 and I bumped it up to like 85 and about the same percentage all the way across the board. And that gave me a lot more throttle response, which is good. I don't know what that noise was from the chassis dyno. It might need some brake shoes. We'll see if it makes that god-awful noise again, and if it does, I'll get under there in the morning and see what I got to do to solve that problem. I'll just let it coast down, and I won't use the brakes any more than I have to. And hopefully nothing goes awry, or I need the brakes, because that would be bad. Restart is nice and crisp. I did make real good numbers, but we're not breaking any records with this car. This is a cruiser. It's only rated at 310 from the engine manufacturer. But I'm lean when I tip in, and then I go lean, and I leaned out at basically at 5,000 RPM. I was too lean. I shut it down. So probably a learning issue that needs to be resolved for wide open throttle. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'm going to let this thing rest and learn what it just learned, and I'll make another pull, and then I'll probably pull it off the dyno and take it for a drive. It'll be interesting to see after I shut this off if the numbers improve or where the graphs go. Because if I understand it right, it should improve the AFR learning, and each time I run it, it should improve its AFRs and hopefully horsepower and torque. So it should be cool. Good, man. Made 4 more horsepower. Let's see what happens when we run it again. So those 2 pulls I made without turning the car off, so I'm expecting them to be pretty similar to one another. The car is getting lean up at the top end. It probably needs to learn what it needs to do up there, and I will look into what kind of parameters I need to make modifications to, because I'm definitely getting lean on the top end above 5,000 RPM. Keyed it off. The data that it learned on those 2 pulls will be saved. It should make changes and adaptations, and then the next pull we'll do in about 10 minutes, and we'll see how it improves. The first of these 2 pulls over the first pull gained 4 horsepower, but actually dropped a little torque. But you know, we're not breaking records with this one. It's not anything more than just a cruiser, so it's going to be a fun car, though. I can tell you that just from driving it around so far. It's going to be a fun car. Let me make another pull. We'll see if it made any modifications. See if it's getting more, delivering more fuel at the high end. It should be making some changes. If not, we'll go in. We'll make those changes to make some improvements, because that's why we have the programming and the ability to program this. That's the whole point of this system. Well, that's it for today, guys. I'm done. I gotta go. I gotta find my other jet ski and pack it up and get ready for a trip. So stay safe out there. Don't do dumb stuff. Well, do dumb stuff, but do dumb stuff safely.
Good plan.
Have a good day.